coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm actually in the basement of my home, and this is kind of where my work takes place majority of the time for the last year or so. I'm sure you guys are just as over it as the rest of the world, but we are very thankful for all of our educators right in the just doing everything they can to get through. So we want to go ahead and get started with you today, and we're going to do some training about your Promethean interactive panel today. So I am with Empower Learning. Empower Learning is a very small resale company, so we're not like your big corporate company, or more of like a family friend, really close company, and we resell Promethean products. We only resell Promethean and then some additional like sound and software products. So I only work with Promethean panels.
You have to be quiet.
So that's a little bit about our company. Hello, more people are joining.
No more talking.
And good afternoon. And some of your panels have come from us, and some of your panels have come from others. So we're talking to all of you all today. So anyone that has a Promethean panel in their classroom, we're going to get you guys started. Whether you've had training in the past or you haven't had training, we're going to take it back to step one today, and we're going to try and go through as much as we can in the 2 hours that we have. I do come from the teaching world, so I started my teaching experience, I started at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and then I moved to Sydney, Australia. In Sydney, Australia, I taught year one. Promethean is actually based out of the UK, so I had a Promethean, an old Promethean board with a projector in my classroom in Australia. And then I moved home to start my family, and I had 8 years teaching experience just south of Indianapolis in Franklin, Indiana, if anybody's ever heard of that. I had all sorts of Promethean products in my classroom there, so that's kind of what led me here as your education consultant. So when you make a purchase through Empower Learning, I just like to kind of explain the structure of it so that everybody understands. You have access to me as your education consultant, and that will cover support for your panel and training for your panel. So after training today, you'll get all the notes, so don't feel like you have to write everything down. I have a lot of notes and resources that I'll send you, and you'll also get my contact information. So after training today, you might have a question. Feel free to reach out. You can do that. I can set up another virtual call just with you in your classroom if you're trying to implement something. If I'm in your area, I can stop by. Things like that. So this is not like today and then I'll see you later. So feel free to continue that mode of communication. So that's a little bit about myself. We're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start with just a couple slides just to show you some close-up stuff because I want to talk to you about the hardware that you have. So, and bear with me here because we are more of a Google people, so let me see if you can see, if I can share my screen. Can you see this? Yes or no?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just making sure. Okay. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about the panel basics. We're going to talk about the Promethean apps that are integrated into your panel already. We're going to talk about integrating any sort of software, or if you use Google Classroom or any of those platforms into your panel and how that works. We're going to talk about what's new with Promethean and updating your panel, because some of you probably are due for an update, and how do you do that. And then at the end, we're going to talk about some of your resources. Okay, so what you have here, and your panel actually looks a little bit different than this one. There's a couple different models, but it's going to work the same. So this picture that's pulled on this slideshow has a control panel in the middle. Yours is probably off to the side, and that's perfectly fine. There's just a couple different models. You are going to have multiple points of touch on the screen. You no longer have to switch into any sort of dual user mode or anything like that. On your panel screen itself, you can get as many users up there, touching the screen, and it should just interact just fine. With the several points of touch, you have a lot of sensitivity. So I always tell students, roll your sleeves up. Sometimes ponytails catch it. You kind of have a give or take when you have that many modes of touch. You have a really thick piece of glass, so you do not need to stress about it scratching or anything like that. For instance, jewelry, that's fine. Any kind of stylus works with your panel. So you should have received a Promethean stylus when you got your panel, but you're certainly not restricted to the Promethean stylus. For instance, I've had a student in my classroom in a wheelchair who couldn't get really close to the panel. The long elementary pointers worked great. I've had teachers who want everybody to have their own stylus in the classroom so that, we don't have 30 first graders or what have you fighting over the stylus. They'll use mechanical pencils and take all the lead out and just use that as a stylus. It's not going to scratch. Please don't stress about that. These are very durable. You have speakers built into your panel. You have storage built into your panel. So today we'll talk about how we can save, how we can add our Microsoft or our Google Drive as our cloud-based drives to save onto the panel, or we can save directly to the panel. You have HDMI and USB ports on the front and the side of your panels should you need to plug anything additionally in. And today we'll talk about some ideas of things of what people like to plug into their panel. As far as cleaning goes, that's a popular question. So Promethean directly recommends to just use an alcohol water mixture. So no baby wipes or Clorox wipes. If you've used those in the past, that's okay. The reason why they don't really prefer those is just the really wet ones might drip liquid into the bezel of your panel. So they ask that you try and use a alcohol water mixture and as close to 100% microfiber cloth. Always spread your cleaner directly on the cloth and then wipe your panel screen down. Water in a microfiber cloth is fine too. I really like the window cloths, like in the automobile aisle, or the Norwex cloths, things like that, just because you will see a lot of fingerprints show up on your panel, and some of you probably already have. So that's a little bit about cleaning. We talked about how we can interact with our panel. You should have received a Promethean stylus. You can use your finger or you can use any sort of stylus. What are teachers plugging into their panels? Well, this is a popular one. Wireless keyboards are super popular to plug into the panel, just so that you're not constantly having to go up to the panel screen and use that built in. And when I come off this PowerPoint, I'll show you the blue one that you see on your screen right now. I have one at my house, and they're actually on Amazon under $20, and they're really handy. They're a pocket wireless keyboard, and so they're small. It's kind of like you're typing on your phone, but they're super handy and they work well with the panel, and I always take it different places with me. And you also have an access of like a mouse on that one. So I'll show that one. If you already have any sort of wireless keyboard and you have that little USB, you can plug that directly into your panel and use your wireless mouse or your keyboard over whatever source we talk about today. So we can think of our panel a couple different ways today. You have a computer now that's on the wall. It has an Android computer system housed inside of it, so you can use that as a standalone device. Or we can plug or wirelessly connect different devices. So I could share my teacher laptop up onto the screen, either by plugging it in with cords, which we'll talk about here in a minute, or using our screen share app to wirelessly connect. Same with a phone, a tablet, a Chromebook, anything like that. So you can think of your panel as a method to share other devices too. We talked about your ports. These are just some like little pictures for you to follow up if you forget. Your menu is going to look a little bit different than this, but it's going to work and function the same. And we'll talk about that. Power on and off. You're also going to have a remote that looks like this. Your panel is going to work similar to a phone, with when you have multiple things and tons of things going up on your phone, it's going to slow your phone down. Same with the panel, and I'll show you today how to close out those things. So you will need to, be aware of that, and if your panel does happen to freeze up because you have too much going on your panel, you're going to hold the power button down, whether it's on the front of the panel or the remote, and you're going to see the white word Promethean appear, and that will reboot your system. I get teachers that'll reach out to me because things just start acting funny, so that might be an indication that your panel needs updated. Panels are typically updated twice a year. Today, I'll talk you through how to register to get those emails for updates. So there's usually 2 updates a year. They range from very minor, like the latest one we had was a very minor update, to very large, where there might be new applications notifications added to your panel. So I'll show you how to register on the Learn Promethean site for that. They give you nice little handy emails every time there's an update and how everything works. As far as your remote goes, this remote is not going to replace any sort of clicker. So those upper grades, 6 through 12, sometimes get frustrated because they want to use the remote like to click through a PowerPoint or something like that. This remote does not work like that, so just keep that in mind. That's where like a wireless mouse or keyboard sometimes comes in handy. Really, you're going to use the remote just for volume, power. You can access your menu. Yours probably has maybe the 3 lines or a flame button, depending on how old your remote is. A freeze, like if you're used to a projector freeze, it'll freeze the image that's on the screen. A source or input, which anything we plug into the panel, we will have to change the source, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And the X is just going to blank your screen. So if you have content up and ready for your students, you can blank your screen so they can't see it, and then press it again to turn it back on. So that's your remote. I don't use my remote a whole lot. It's really just a personal preference. I also throw this in there. Teachers, if you have an issue with your panel, your first line of defense is going to be your administration. So probably Michelle, or however it is you put a tech ticket in. If you have a technology department where you put a ticket in, like something's not working, that's going to be your first line of defense. Your second line of support, should something go wrong, if they can't figure it out, they'll reach out to us at Empower Learning, and we will try and troubleshoot that and do a service call for you. If we can't figure out, the third line of support is Promethean, and they're really great about, we place a ticket with Promethean, and if it, even down to replacement, if it needs to be replaced, you go to the front of the line to get your panel replaced. So teachers, please do not feel scared or embarrassed to speak up if something's not working right with your panel, because it could be something little, or it could be something kind of big. Are there any questions about anything I talked about so far? Okay, let me get off this sharing thing. Okay. Any questions? Awesome. So that's kind of your hardware and what you have. Usually when Empower Learning installs panels, I'm not sure if we did that or not. Off the top of my head, we leave like a little cardboard box, and it would have your remote and your stylus, and it would also have 2 black cords. One is going to be an HDMI cord, and the other one is going to be a cord that looks like a USB, and that's going to enable touch. So there's a couple different ways to think about if you want to share your teacher laptop up onto the screen. So you can either use our screen share app, which we'll go through today, or you could use those black cords that are in your box to plug into the front of the panel and then plug into your computer. So you will have 2. The importance of that is you want 1 to show your image, and 2, you want to be able to interact with the panel with touch. If you plug anything into the panel, so if it's a teacher laptop, maybe teachers are also plugging in things like Apple TVs, Roku sticks, things like that. Anything you plug into the panel, you have to change the source. So similar, I have little children at home. If they want to watch Disney Plus, I know in my brain, I have to get my TV remote, I have to change the input on my TV, right, to my Amazon Fire Stick, and then I can access my Disney Plus. Same type of thing here. If you're going to use those black cords to plug in your teacher laptop per se, you have to find either the button on your remote that's an arrow, or on the front, on the side of your panel, you'll have a button with an arrow. Or when we pull that unified menu up, you have a yellow bubble labeled source. So if you're at your classroom right now, this is a good time to check this. So you're going to find the bubble on your unified menu labeled source, and you're going to tap that. And if you don't have anything plugged in, you'll only see a house that says home. That is the source of the panel. If you have anything else plugged in additionally, you'll have additional bubbles. So it's only going to show you what's plugged in. So I have 2 things plugged in right now. I have 1 thing plugged in. I have my Promethean panel, and then my second one says HDMI 3. I have a Roku stick plugged into the side. So if I physically tap that HDMI 3 with my finger, it switches the input of my panel to my Roku. Okay? If I had my laptop here, I would touch my bubble that probably says HDMI 2, and it would switch over to my laptop. You can do it like that, or you can use our screen share app, which we haven't got to and we'll get to today, and have a wireless connection. So that is your hardware and everything you have. I'm trying to think in my brain if there's anything else. So now we are going to work through that unified menu. We call it the unified menu. We can either touch the flame button on the front of your panel. You either will have a flame button or a button with 3 lines on your remote, or on the front of your panel screen, you will see arrows on the bottom or the sides. Those arrows you have to physically touch. They are the same no matter where you are. It's just a convenience feature. So that's our main menu that we're going to work through today. You're going to notice, and if you've had a panel, you're going to notice it's going to run over whatever it is you're doing. So if I'm sharing my teacher laptop up on the screen, my unified menu is still going to be there. I'm going to be able to access all the tools I talk about today, whether I'm on the panel computer itself or the laptop or whatever it is, whatever device I'm on. What's new before we get started? I want you to check right now in your classroom. I want you to go to your unified menu and look for the last bubble labeled help. Can someone let me know if you have that? It looks like a question mark, and it's the last bubble on your unified menu. Do you have that, yes or no?
Yes.
Say that again?
Yeah, we have it.
Okay. Anyone that doesn't have it?
I don't think I do.
You don't?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It's supposed to say help.
Yep. Have you had your panel for a while?
Since last year.
I think since last year.
Yeah. So I think it was maybe May, there was an update. So if you don't have that bubble that's labeled help, follow me now. Or everybody can follow me. They can tap the unified menu, find that bubble labeled locker.
Locker.
And then in your locker, whether you have one or several pages, you're going to find an icon that is labeled update, and you're going to tap the update icon, and then you're going to click check for updates.
Okay.
And then,
Jessica,
yes.
that when I've updated them here, it can take quite a while for them to update. So
Okay.
I don't want.
So I was going to let you do that and let it update. Everybody's network is different, so if you're a little slower, then it might not catch up. So at the end of the training, let me write that down so I don't forget. I'll have everybody update their panel.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And that'll show this new bubble. So the last update was very minimal. There was just this new bubble added. So I am actually going to turn my camera off here and turn my tripod camera on so I can stand up and you can see me a little better. So just give me a second here. Hello, testing. Okay. Let me move you a little closer. Okay. Can everybody hear me? I think my speaker is not on, and that's why I can't hear you. Sorry. I turned my speaker off on my computer so I couldn't hear you. Okay. So let's talk more about that unified menu. Before we go on, though, I wanted to share, this is the little wireless keyboard that I like to use that's on Amazon, and I'll send you the link to that. It's pretty basic. You can just pair it via Bluetooth, and we'll talk about where to get those Bluetooth settings in the settings on your panel, and then you can just use it, and it's an on-off, and it's rechargeable. So if you are interested in that, then I'll kind of show you later how I use that. And out of this, it's really handy to have. So that last icon labeled help, That is, I'm sorry, I need to plug in something externally. I can't hear you if you have any questions. That is the newest thing they have on the update. So you can launch the Learn Promethean website. You can put a support ticket in here if you have an issue with your panel, and then you can do a quick tour of your panel if you have like a guest or something in the building. Give me 1 second. And if you could find, if you do have that help, if you could find the launch website button there and just hit that, and it's going to launch you into the Promethean website. So if you have the help icon, you're going to find that, and you are going to launch website. When we launch that website, maybe like that. This website is really handy because if you haven't been on it before, it's a great place to do online courses like e-courses, or the video tutorials are really wonderful. The black banner up here labeled video tutorials. You can access this on your regular computer too, which is called Learn Promethean, or on the panel itself through that help icon. So here I can scroll down and I can find really quick 2 to 3 minute videos of questions I might have or something I want to learn. So you guys have the Element series, and you have the Nickel one, and then like this one has 41 videos. If you forgot how to do something that we talk about today, this is a great place to look. So I'll put this in your follow-up information too. This is the Learn Promethean site. There's also PDF resources if you prefer more of that. And then if you are here in your classroom right now, in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a red register. So if you'll tap that red register, and you will actually register right now, this is where you're going to get the emails for the updates, the 2 updates a year, and then you'll also get an email if there's anything going on. For instance, in the summer, they have a Camp Promethean where you can take online courses. Right now, they have back-to-school resources, different things like that. They'll just give you an email for those too. So if you are on your panel or on your teacher computer, you can go to Learn Promethean. On the panel, you got to it by clicking the help icon, and then launching the website, and then go to the red register and register now. Don't mind. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Is everybody still there? Awesome. Okay, I can hear you. Okay, so if you did not have time to do that, then we'll go through it again, and I'll put it in your follow-up information. But this is a really great resource that Promethean has provided for teachers, and you can learn a lot and get a lot of free resources here. So we were just registering with our name, a couple of little questions to ask you, and your email address. When you're finished, you're going to find the home button on your unified menu to take you back to your home screen of your panel. Okay? And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to find the locker icon. So we're going to find the bubble labeled locker, and we're going to launch our locker. When you're there, if you'll just scream out, "I'm at the locker," then I will know to move on. So you're finding the bubble labeled locker on your unified menu, and then yelling out when you're done, so I know that you're ready to move on.
We're good.
We're good. Awesome. Okay. So, good. Great. Your locker is going to be where everything is going to live in your panel. Okay, your applications, your settings, your files, your internet browser will be found here. Information on your panel, your gallery where your photos and screen captures might be saved will all be found in the locker. So you're going to think of it like a sports locker. Along the side, or you're going to notice mine, I have a couple bubbles at the bottom, and I'm going to swipe mine over, and I have lots of things on my panel, right? You're going to be able to download applications on your panel and add those pages, and they're just going to populate into pages similar to like an iPhone as we download applications. There's no like file folders that you can create or anything like that, but you can drag and drop applications. So hold the application down, drag it and drop it to different pages if you want to organize the separate pages. Along the left-hand side, you see a cube, you see a gear, and you see an eye. So I want you to tap the eye first. The eye is just information on your panel. So should anything go wrong, they might ask you what your serial number is. That's where you're going to find it, under the eye. Now tap the gear. Your gear icon is going to provide you basic settings like volume, brightness, and contrast. Find the word More Settings and tap that. More Settings is going to provide you things that look very similar to a phone or a tablet settings. Your Wi-Fi can be connected here. Connect Bluetooth devices. So like when I use my wireless keyboard, I connect that, I pair it through here under Connect Devices. Teachers like to customize their panel, display wallpaper if you want to change your background. Things like that. If you need to change your time or, time or calendar, time zone, whatever it is. So you're not going to spend a lot of time in the settings, but if you need to find something, you're going to find that gear icon. And as we talk today, everything is going to have a gear icon. So everything we open today, I'm going to be like, find that gear icon to change the setting. So the gear icon is a universal setting. They're a universal icon that they're going to use. We're going to go back into the locker. So unified menu locker. The top one is a cube. The cube is where all the applications. Applications that you see on your panel, if you have not figured out how to download applications yet, like you just got your panel, those are preloaded at installation. Other than that, you can add apps. Now, I'm not quite sure how you guys have your setup. So can somebody that's had their panel, do you add apps through the Promethean store, or do you guys see the Play Store on your panel? Any ideas?
Jessica, go ahead. Somebody.
Elizabeth?
We have Promethean store.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so for those new users or the experienced ones, if you're not sure, how do I add apps to my panel? You're going to find the white square that is labeled Promethean Store. And you're going to launch that, and this is going to be your app store, similar to on a phone, where you can download things directly into your locker. So when you launch it, it's going to look like this. You're going to have an orange banner at the top. If you tap on the word applications, you can search through all the applications for you to download. Quizlet, Class Dojo, all your Microsoft Office, your Microsoft Outlook, Khan Academy, things like that. Search through. Anything that you choose to download is going to then download into your locker. So I find something that I use every day in my classroom. Microsoft Teams is on here. Go Noodle, things like that. I find something, I tap it. It's going to look and feel just like a phone or a tablet. I click install, and it installs it into my locker. So then when I go to my locker, I'll give it some time, and I'll notice that icon, that application is going to show up in my locker. So that's where I'm going to download apps into my locker. It's going to be the white Promethean store. Okay? Let's talk about some of the things that are already in your locker. So let's find the blue icon that's labeled Files. If you'll tap that, This is going to be your internal storage on your panel. And today we might add things like your Microsoft or your Google Drive. So on mine, you're going to see I have multiple options along the side. That's because I have multiple things added. You probably don't, that's okay. Yours probably just says internal storage. Maybe you're somebody that likes to save on a USB drive. You could plug your USB drive and it would show under the word internal storage, your USB drive would show up. So these are your files. All the things that you save directly from the panel will go here. Let's go back to that locker. Find the blue bubble now that's labeled Chromium. Chromium is going to be your web browser here. So the web browser installed on the panel is labeled Chromium. It's going to look, act, and feel the same as any browser that you're probably used to. Your top right-hand corner, the three bubbles, that will give you your file to create bookmarks, check your history, things like that. Maybe there's a website that you use every single day. Like, I don't even know what platform you guys really, do you guys do like any sort of LMS or anything?
Yes.
Jessica, we're in the process of adopting a new LMS this Blackboard.
Okay. So, what's it called again?
Blackboard.
Blackboard. Okay. So if you want to have that, that's probably not on the Promethean store. You can check. It might be on the Promethean store. You could go to that website, pull up your platform, and maybe you want to, instead of every day having to pull up the internet, Chromium, and type that in or get to the bookmark or whatnot, you can add that to your home screen, which your home screen on the panel is your locker. So if that's your LMS that you use every day, or if you are a science teacher or an elementary teacher and you use weather.com every day because we check the weather every day in kindergarten, you can add that icon to your home screen. Your home screen is your locker. Here's how we do it. So we don't necessarily have to open Chromium every time. We go to the website that it is. So I'm just going to do this Promethean one because it's up. I click on the three bubbles in the top right-hand corner. I find Add to Home Screen. When I click Add to Home Screen, it's going to pull the image of the website and allow me to label it. So I can label it LMS or weather or whatever website it is that I use every single day. And I click Add. Now, essentially, it's going to make a shortcut in my locker. So if I scroll to the last page of my locker, I'm going to see that little icon. And if I click on it, it's going to take me right to that website. So if there are websites, maybe content, curriculum, anything that you use every day, and there is no app in the Promethean store for that, you can just add it to your home screen by using the three bubbles in the top right-hand corner. Then you're not constantly opening Chromium every day to find it. So let's go back to home. Let's find the house on our unified menu. So we've opened a couple things on our panel. We've opened Chromium, we've opened our files. How do we see what we have open on our panel? Because, like I said, your panel is going to slow down the more you have up and running. You're going to find that unified menu, and you're going to find the bubble second to last, or maybe the last, depending on if yours is updated, labeled Recent Apps. If you tap that Recent Apps, you're going to see everything that you have up and running. So we had settings. We talked about the help icon. We had Chromium, files. So here is where this is nice. I can close out the apps that I'm not going to use anymore. Or this is a great way to toggle in between things. Maybe I have a website up and I have my whiteboard up and I want to go in between. Okay, I can tap and it'll take me back to my website. I can tap on that recent apps bubbles again and I can tap on my whiteboard and it'll take me back there. So you can toggle in between two things here really easily through that recent apps. We can also close our apps out under that. Okay, so how do I close out apps that I'm not using anymore? I find that unified menu. I find the bubble labeled recent apps. I tap it, and I X out the apps I'm not using anymore. Or I switch in between things for my class as I'm teaching my classroom. Let's tap that bubble back into the locker. You're going to see an icon labeled camera. You do not have a camera or a microphone on your panel. So keep that in mind. That app is for if you additionally add one. Maybe you just add a camera, you can run it through there. If you have a document camera that you want to use in your classroom, you can run it through the camera app. So keep this in mind. And I don't know if you guys are having virtual at all, if that's a reality for you right now or not as far as your learners go, but I have a Microsoft Teams worksheet that I'll send you for follow-up information. But you could download the Microsoft Teams app on your Promethean store and you can have it on your device. So for instance, if you had virtual learners last year, you probably did something like I'm doing, where I'm standing in front of the panel and I'm just teaching. But you probably noticed my students can't always see everything I'm doing on the panel. So you could be logged into your Microsoft Teams call. I'm just going to go through this really quick, and then I'll send you the guide, and it will make more sense on a step-by-step thing. You would actually sign into your Teams call on the panel in the app, and you would mute yourself. And then you would sign in on your teacher computer, and your teacher computer would act as your microphone and your camera. And then on the panel, you would present your screen, and it's muted so that there's no feedback. And when you present your screen on the panel, students are able to see you standing up on your teacher computer, but they're also able to see every single click you make on the panel, every single thing you annotate. It kind of looks like what it looked like when I had my PowerPoint up on the panel. Up on my teacher computer at the beginning of the call. So just keep that in mind. There's no camera, there's no microphone. So if you're going to use it for virtual learning, you're going to have to use your teacher computer, and you can use the panel additionally, or you can just use it like I'm using it right now. If there's more questions, or if that becomes more of a reality, we can certainly set up more training for that, and I'll also send you a guide. So that is, the camera app is in your locker if you need to attach any additional cameras. Not your teacher computer. You don't have to do anything for that. Other things that are found in your locker. You are going to see a red circle labeled timer if you will tap that right now. This is going to pull up an interactive timer, stopwatch, or clock. And I want you to take some time to practice right now. The gray bar around the outside is going to be your control. So you actually have to touch the gray bar to be able to move it around. So take a moment and move your timer over to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Your timer, mine is purple, yours might not be. Yours is probably just gray. So this provides you a timer, a clock, or a stopwatch wherever you are, whatever it is you're doing. You're going to notice that it's floating over whatever it is we have open. So I can drag it like we did. I can make it full screen with those arrows. So I'm going to tap the arrows at the bottom and make my timer full screen. If I tap the word timer in the middle, you're going to get an option, clock, timer, or stopwatch. So I can change it. My timer, I use my arrows or the assigned times at the top to set my time, and I press play to set the time. Mine is purple because that was the last one I closed out. If you see the plus sign at the bottom, that's going to allow you to have multiple timers going on your screen, up to 4. So now if you press that plus sign now, you're going to see multiple colors show up. Gray, purple, blue, and green. If you have them full screen like I do, it just grays out the background. You can label the top of each timer. And then here's the first time we see it. We see that gear icon. The gear icon is going to be our settings. So if we tap that, digital, analog, and if we want it to make a sound. When we're done with the timers, we X them out. So this is great, the multi-timers, if we have small groups around the room, individual students working, things like that. Questions on that? And I can float them or I can make them full screen. If I have my teacher computer showing up, I can still use them. I still have access to all of these tools. You guys are very quiet. Let's go back to the locker. I'm gonna go back home so you don't see that in the background. I'm gonna go back to the locker and I'm gonna find the purple circle labeled spinner. This is gonna look, act, and feel the same as the timer app. You're gonna see a gray bar along the outside so I can practice moving my spinner. Now, if you have your spinner open, you're just going to spin the spinner with your finger, and you're going to see it move around. This is going to provide an interactive spinner for your classroom. Those of you that teach the lower elementary, you're like, oh, this is great. I use a spinner all the time. Those of you in the higher grades, 6 through 12, you're probably like, what am I going to use this for? Think outside of the box. How can I use a spinner in my classroom? And we can create spinners here. I can use a spinner for volunteers in my classroom. So I can have everybody's name or a number assigned to them. And instead of having to pick volunteers, we can spin it. I can use it as a positive motivation incentive for my students. They can spin the spinner if we've earned so many whatever and pick a free time activity or something like that. I can use it for games, writing activities, if we're just looking for a writing topic or a setting. So how do I make them? Well, yours probably, when you opened it for the first time, it had like alphabet or colors up. If I tap that word, alphabet or colors, whatever it is yours is on, you're going to see a drop-down menu appear. So the ones you see on yours, alphabet, colors, name, numbers, vowels, those are all preloaded so that you can use them. You can click on the pencil on the side to edit any of those, or popular, create a new, the orange at the top, create a new spinner. You can create a spinner for anything. Add as many items as you want. Title it, period 1, or, first grade 2021. Add all your items in. Make sure you hit save. When you hit save, it's going to show up in your drop-down menu every day. So you're going to see me. I just scroll through my spinners. Where do I make the spinners? Yes, I have to be up at the panel to make the spinners. But once I save them, they're there every day for me to use, and I can edit them with the pencil if I lose a student or if I gain a student or need to change something up.
Cool.
At the bottom of your spinners, you see that same control. The gear is your settings. This is a popular one. Select item once. I like to make sure that's turned on so it's not always calling on the same volunteer. So the whole time I have that spinner open, it's only going to land on everything once until I close it out. Sound is another option. The plus sign also gives us the option to add 4 different spinners. So I could have one with my volunteers, and I could have one up with my writing topics. Or I could have multiple different spinners up for whatever math game it is we're playing. So up to 4, 3, 2, or 1. You can have them float over whatever it is you're doing, or your arrows can make them full screen. Okay, it grays it out like a standalone activity. When you are done with your spinners, you X out underneath each individual one, just like we did the timer. Okay? Questions on the timer or the spinner? Have any of you used either one of those that have already had a panel? Okay. Oh, somebody has. Elizabeth, you've used yours. Awesome. Thank you. So those are some cool new little or cool little apps that are already on your panel that you can just start using right away. Other things in the locker that I want to point out, you're going to see screen share, whiteboard. Those are going to be in the locker, annotate in the locker, but you're also going to see them on your unified menu. So we'll talk about them when we get to them on our unified menu. I don't think there's anything else I specifically want to talk about in the locker. But as you download things from that Promethean store, they'll just load up into your locker. Okay, let's go on. The bubble next to the locker, yours is going to look like a little person, and it's probably going to be labeled owner. So if you'll tap that now, you're going to have a little menu pop up. This is going to be our user profiles. So on the panels now, you can make profiles up to 10. So we know that teachers' doors are always revolving, right? You're going to have multiple people in your classroom. Maybe you have somebody that comes in your classroom every single day at this time. Maybe they teach a small group. They could use the panel with their small group activity and have a user profile. These user profiles are specific to the panel, so they're not like a cloud-based profile. So you actually have to go to each panel and make that profile for that to be there. You can't just make it on one and expect it to show up on whatever room you show up in. Yours is probably labeled owner right now. That's just what it's called when it's installed. When we tap the person, we're going to see sign out. We're going to see the gear icon again, a lock, and the cloud. At installation or out of the box, you should have your owner profile and your guest profile. Guest profile is just very minimalistic. It's very good. Like, I don't think they can download apps or anything. It's really good for substitutes because you can get on there and bookmark their things on Chromium or add whatever it is you want, anything like that. How do we add profiles? You have to add profiles through the owner profile. So the owner profile, we like to think of it as the classroom teacher. So the classroom teacher is responsible, unless Michelle decides elsewise, is responsible for adding the profiles. So I'm going to click on the gear icon. So I tap the person on the menu. I tap the gear icon. Right now, I want you to do that. If you're up at your panel, tap the owner, tap the gear icon. And then you're going to tap on the word you, and then in parentheses it says owner. Tap that, and now you can change your name. So you're not always called the owner. Your last name, your grade level, whatever it is you want to be called. You can go as far as to change your profile picture too by tapping that. And then you hit OK. So you're going to see on mine, I have a few more. Yours just says owner and guest. If you go underneath the guest, you're going to see a plus sign. That's where you're going to be able to add profiles. Let me show you mine. When I tap on my unified menu, I click on owner and I click on sign out. It grays my screen and shows me my 3 profiles. So the more you add, the more bubbles you will see. Okay. I'm going to take mine a step further. I'm going to log into my profile, and now I have a PIN code on mine. So I'll show you how to add that for those people that want to have more of a secure panel. When I click on that unified menu, I click on the person bubble. The next icon over is the lock. When I tap that lock, mine's already set up. You'll find the word screen lock. Screen lock will provide you the opportunity to create a password or a PIN code for your panel. Honestly, if you're in the lower grades, this might not be anything you're interested in at all. You're not required to make a PIN lock at all. A screen lock. The third icon over. So we're on the person. We see gear. We see lock. The third one over is cloud. For you guys and how you're functioning, you're going to want to do this. When you click the cloud, you're going to have the option to add a Google Drive or a OneDrive. Do you guys use cloud-based drives at your school?
We use OneDrive.
Okay, so that's what I assumed. So you would tap on OneDrive, and then it would prompt you to add that by logging in. So you're going to log in with your teacher email and password, and then it's going to attach your OneDrive to your user profile. So this is specific to each user profile. So if you have a teacher that comes in your room every day and they create their own profile, they can add their own drive. Okay? And then you're going to be able to access that. You will know that it's connected because if you go to the locker and you click on the blue file folder, underneath internal storage, you'll now have your OneDrive. Now, it might prompt you. If you have a PowerPoint, it might not open it right away. It might prompt you to download Microsoft PowerPoint on the Promethean store. So just keep that in mind. It shouldn't take long to download things. I'm going to go back home. So that was our user profile. We talked about that we can add up to 10 profiles, our owner, our guest, and 8 more. We can rename ourselves under the gear icon and add profiles under the gear icon. Under the lock icon, that's our securities, like screen lock. And under our cloud icon, that's how we're going to connect our Microsoft OneDrive. Can I connect more than one drive to my account? Yes. Maybe I want to connect my school OneDrive and my personal OneDrive. Sure. Do it. Just go back in there, tap it again, and you can add multiple to your profile. Maybe I have a Microsoft and a Google. Yes, I can add both. Maybe your teacher that comes in your room to help service your classroom every day doesn't necessarily need their own profile, but they just want to add their drive to your profile too. They can certainly do that. What questions do you have on the user profiles? Okay. You guys are very quiet. Let's go on. So that's our user profiles. We talked about the locker, user profile. The next one over, we see home. That always brings us to our home screen of our panel. We're back to the source of our panel. The next one over, whiteboard. You see a blue bubble labeled whiteboard. If you'll tap that, can somebody share with us if they've used the whiteboard and what they've done with it? Maybe somebody that had a board last year in their classroom. Anybody? Okay. This is going to be your new and your improved dry erase board. It's going to replace a chalk or dry erase board. If you are familiar with our software, Promethean software, ActivInspire, we haven't talked about that yet. This is not ActivInspire. This is separate. This is called the Whiteboard App. You're going to think of this Whiteboard App as I'm going to be able to just launch it, and I'm going to be able to walk to the board and start teaching right away. Right now, if you're in your classroom in front of your panel, I want you to find the pin icon on the toolbar. And then I want you to just play around with writing on your panel screen. So you have multiple points of touch, so you could use multiple fingers to write at one time. Take a moment to do that. Just write on the panel screen with the pen or the highlighter, or both. If you tap and you release on the pen or the highlighter, tap and release, you can change the thickness of your ink. You're going to notice you have colors, and then your color palette is going to provide you more colors. Once you've gotten an opportunity to write on your panel screen, I want you to find the arrow, the select tool on your toolbar, and hit that. Okay, now that you've hit the select tool, I want you to hold your finger down on the panel screen, and you're going to see a map appear in the top right-hand corner. That is because you can go up, down, side to side, and keep adding content to your panel screen. You have an infinite amount of workspace here. So you can scroll up, down, side to side, zoom in, zoom out. You're going to kind of use your fingers like you would on a tablet. And that map just provides you a map of where all your content is and where you might be in that specific time. So teachers like that I don't have to constantly make like a PowerPoint-like presentation and run out of space on my slide. It's really nice for units. Maybe I want to, start a whole unit and I want to come save it and come in and out of it every day and review and add more content to it. I can do that. Let's talk about how do we save our content on the Whiteboard app. In your toolbar, you see the 3 bubbles at the top. If you tap that, that's going to act like your file menu. This is where you can create a new project, open an existing one you had saved from the day before, save as. You can even export these if you want to push it out through your LMS. Send it in an email, do something like that. You can change your toolbar position and you can close. So let's select Save As. So now you have options. You can save it in your internal storage. If you're just coming back to it on the panel tomorrow, you can save it on your OneDrive, on a thumb drive, whatever. You click on the line on the bottom, you name it, then you click Save. You can create folders in your internal storage. In the top right-hand corner, 3 bubbles, new folder. So if you're in Save As, you can save this and practice now, or you can go back to your Unified menu and tap on the whiteboard icon to make that go away. Here's one thing I do want to point out. When you save something on the whiteboard, you're saving it as a .pwb or WD, Promethean whiteboard document is what it's saving as. So it's only going to be able to be opened on something that has the whiteboard application. Right now, the only thing that has the whiteboard application is the panel. So in your mind, you need to think, if I'm saving this to come back to it on the panel tomorrow, that's fine. I can click Save As. If I'm saving this content because I want to email it to an absent student or parent, or I want to put it on my LMS, or whatever it is I want to do with it, I have to export it. So I have to click those 3 bubbles and select. And I need to change that over to a PDF because PDFs can be viewable on any device, right? So I have 2 choices: export PDF screenshot or export PDF canvas. The screenshot is just going to see what you see in your viewpoint. The canvas is going to export the whole project in that infinite space. So you choose, and then when you export it, you're going to have options here. You can, if you have your OneDrive selected, you could just tap OneDrive and it'll export that PDF and drop it into your OneDrive. You can save it to your device as a PDF and then email it through Chromium or whatever. And as you add things, it will show. For instance, I have Google Classroom on here. So my Google Classroom is here. I would tap that and it would prompt me to create an assignment on my Google Classroom. So if, just in your mind, if you're just looking to use it on the panel, you can save as. If you're looking to save this content and put it somewhere else, you need to export as a PDF. Any questions? Okay. Let's keep moving through the toolbar. The next tool that you're going to see is the person with the dotted lines in between. If you tap that right now, that's going to split your screen in half and give you 2 toolbars along the bottom. This is great for 2 groups solving a problem, 2 students working and solving a problem. I can use my finger or my stylus. You can solve your problem. I can solve my problem over here, and I have my own tools and my own colors, my own ruler, what have you. When your students are finished and you want your teacher toolbar to come back, you have to tap on those 2 people. So you tap on it. The nice thing here is it's still, all their annotations are still going to stay. So you can still talk about how each student solved the problem. Underneath the 2 people, you see a waffle icon. So if you're at your panel right now, this would be a really great opportunity for you to tap the waffle icon. When you tap that, you're going to see options appear. Maybe you want the elementary lines with the dots in the middle, a musical staff, just lined paper, grid lines, 10 frames. Whatever it is, you select it, and then you hit that waffle icon again. You can change the line color, and at the bottom, you could even change the background color. It's going to cover your entire canvas. So when I hit that select tool and I scroll down, up side to side, those lines are still there. If I'm an elementary teacher and I'm kindergarten, I'm going to zoom in with my fingers because I want those nice big lines to work on letter writing, right? If I'm a third grade teacher, I'm going to use my fingers and I'm going to zoom out so I can write an entire sentence on my viewpoint or multiple sentences. So that lined paper, grid paper for math teachers, musical staff, those are all really popular, is in the waffle icon. Well, what if I want to clear my page out? I don't want those lines anymore. I tap on the blank rectangle in the top left-hand corner, and then I actually have to go in and change my background color. Did you catch that? Was there any questions on that? The lined paper. Okay, moving on. Underneath the waffle icon, you're going to see a mountain icon. The mountain icon is going to give you access point to 2 areas, charts, templates, and your gallery. We haven't even talked about the gallery yet, so we're not going to go there yet, but we're going to talk about the top one that says charts and templates. If you're there now, you're going to see all these charts and templates that you are preloaded for you to use. So you can use any of these directly in your classroom. You pick one, like your Venn diagram, and it's going to bring it into your project. You can use your fingers like you would on a tablet to make it larger or smaller and move it around. And then your finger or your stylus, and you'll be able to write right over top of it. When we write over a chart, template, or image, and then we need to move that, those annotations are going to stick to it. So now it's like one image. I can add multiple charts, templates. I can scroll down and add another one if I don't want it in the same viewpoint. So you have all these resources there for you to use right now. In a moment, we'll talk about how we can bring other content in, and then we'll talk about the gallery. But the charts and templates that are preloaded are under the mountain icon. We talked about the pen and the highlighter being our tools. We tap and release those to change the ink thickness. We have colors. Our color palette provides us more colors. Let's talk about writing and erasing. We can always write with our stylus or our finger, the pen or the highlighter. We have to use the eraser tool to erase. We can tap and release on the eraser to change that radius of our eraser. And under the eraser tool, you're going to see a rectangle. That's a clear all, so it will clear everything you've written. If you accidentally hit that, at the bottom, you're going to see arrows for undo and redo. How do I erase those charts or templates or an image? Because you notice my eraser tool is not going to erase those. I actually have to go to my select tool, the arrow, and tap it. So you have to tap the select tool. And then you have to tap and release on the chart or template. Tap, release. It's weird. Tap, release. It'll gray out the chart, template, or image. And then you're going to tap the red trash can. And it's going to make that chart, template, or image go away. Now, if you have anything written on that chart, template, or image, it takes it too, because they're all one now. So, annotations, you use the eraser tool. Any sort of image, chart, or template, you tap, release, and red trash can. At the bottom, you're going to see some basic math tools. For instance, a ruler. Use your fingers to change the size. Move it around. If you have a couple students working up here, they can get another ruler out so you can get multiple ones. All of your math tools, if you hold your finger or your stylus around the edges, it gives you track lines for your lines and your shapes. All of your math tools are translucent to use over whatever it is you're doing. All of your math tools have an X in the middle of them to make them go away when you're finished. So this is the basic functionality of the Whiteboard app. Yes, I have not talked about how do I bring a worksheet in here. How do I bring an image? I haven't gotten there yet. But this is the basic functionality of your new and your improved dry erase board or chalkboard. Let's see if perhaps there are any questions on the Whiteboard app. Anybody? Okay. Let's talk about how do I bring other content into my Whiteboard app. I'm going to find the unified menu right now. And I'm going to tap on that bubble that is labeled Recent Apps. And I'm going to go to my internet browser, Chromium, that's open, if I still have it open. If you don't have it open, you're going to go to your locker and launch Chromium. And we're going to pretend. First example, we're going to pretend this is a website. It's taking forever to load. Here we go. This is a website. We're reading through a piece of literature, and there's a really great paragraph that I want to bring into my Whiteboard document so students can annotate and pick out the parts of speech. Okay, we're pretending. How am I going to bring this paragraph into my Whiteboard app? I'm going to tap the unified menu. I'll go through this a couple of times. Tap the unified menu, find the next bubble labeled Capture. Capture is going to be your friend. Capture is like screen capture, like we do on our iPhone all the time. It's going to capture your screen that you have up on your panel right now. Now you can crop your image. So I'm going to crop it down to that paragraph right now. Everything I want the students to see. Then I'm going to click Done and open in the Whiteboard. And it brought that nice little cropped paragraph into my Whiteboard. Let me go through that step by step one more time for those of you that need it. We're going to find Chromium. We're on a website that we're doing something with our students or reading something. And whether it's an image or, like, for instance, our example here is our paragraph. We want this paragraph to come over to the Whiteboard app so students can highlight, underline, circle parts of speech. I find the unified menu. I find the bubble labeled Capture. I capture it. I screen capture it. Now it gives you the option to crop your image. I crop it down to what I want the students to see. The paragraph, the image, whatever it is. I click Done. Open in the Whiteboard. It brings it to the Whiteboard. So now I have two. I can use my fingers if I want to enlarge that paragraph or shrink it down, whatever. Now I can use my stylus or my finger, and I can call students up to highlight, underline, circle, whatever, right on top of that image. Also, when we clicked Done and we clicked Open in the Whiteboard, if I now click this mountain icon, it's in my gallery. I have a ton of screen captures from training. It's located there. So this is great for if you're starting a unit now and 6 weeks from now you want to pull up that same paragraph and talk about it and see the progress, the student progress. It's there. It's going to be in your gallery. You can access it in the mountain icon, or in your locker there's an icon labeled Gallery. What else? I can save my project right here with all my annotations. How do I bring a worksheet into my Whiteboard app? I'm going to go to my locker. I'm going to find my file folder, and I'm going to find my worksheet. Maybe it's in my OneDrive. I'm going to find, just a regular PDF. Okay? Find whatever it is, and I launch my worksheet with my students. Sorry, let me find something that I can open here. I need something real short. Okay, pretend. I opened my worksheets. All my files are huge. You have your worksheet open for students to see. You can now capture it with that capture button. Crop it down to just the worksheet. Click done, open in the whiteboard. It brings that whole worksheet over to your panel screen. Okay, now I can annotate. Now I can't scroll, so I have to just go through whatever I see on my viewpoint. So make sure you get whatever you want in there in your screen capture to bring your worksheet in. We can also import worksheets through our software, which we'll talk about at the end. But this is just what you can do on the panel itself. So screen captures, charts, and templates all work the same. When I'm done with them, I tap and I release, and I tap the red trash can to delete those. So that's how I can basically bring content from anywhere into my whiteboard document, whether it's individual slides on a PowerPoint that I pull up, or a worksheet, or a paragraph, or an image, anything. Any questions on that? I'm going to give you, there is a question on the chat. I was able to connect my OneDrive, but it won't allow me to open any of my files. I tried a PowerPoint, a PDF. Sorry. It says your Promethean store is no longer being supported, and you have a brand new board. Andrea. Well, that's weird. Can anybody else try and open the Promethean store? It's not going to open anything because those apps aren't there to open them, and your Promethean store is not working. So, somebody else try their Promethean store.
Jessica, walk away from my see if I can help her.
Okay, thanks. Is anybody else able to launch the Promethean store on their end and try and download something?
I'm downloading Microsoft Word right now. It seems to be working.
Weird. Andrea, you might try and update your panel if you can't figure it out.
It says we have removed access to the Promethean store in preparation for the end of support that will happen at the end of 2021.
What?
This means you can no longer browse the store or download new apps from it.
So I'm wondering, I haven't been informed about that. So, and we just haven't gotten to this point yet with Michelle if she's interested. But we do offer, and I don't even know if she can hear me because she's coming down to your room. We offer, or Promethean offers, not we, panel management, and then you can actually download the Google Play Store, which is Google-based, and it's not Promethean. So I'm wondering if they're forcing everybody to do that and not use the Promethean store. But I have not ever been aware of this. and I've been doing a lot of training. So, and it sounds like some people's are working and others aren't. Was the person that said that, was it Ronald or somebody said that they were able to download? Are you an older panel?
I think it's an older panel. It's the first time I've used it in this room, though, and it just did install Word, and it seems to be working.
Okay. So, Andrea, I'm going to follow up. I wrote you down. Follow up with what's going on and if there's any news about the Promethean store or why. Andrea, do you have that help icon on your unified menu?
Yes. Weird. And my board's only a few days old.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. So let me follow up on that. That's weird. I wonder if something changed that we haven't been notified of. Okay. For the time being, Andrea, until you can get yours, you're just going to access all of your content on your teacher computer and either plug your computer in or we're getting ready to show you how to share it. So you can still show all of your stuff you have saved in your OneDrive from your teacher computer if you can't get that working on your panel. And I'm getting ready to talk through that. So that would be something that would be helpful for you until we get this figured out, okay?
Okay. And Michelle took a picture. So
Awesome.
she has a photo of the screen.
Great. Were there
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions on the Whiteboard app specifically? I hope you all feel like this is something you would use daily in your classroom. This is a great, out of everything that we talk about today, which is a lot, this is a great place to just start using this every day in your classroom instead of using like a easel or a erase board or something like that. It's a great way to integrate your panel, and it's pretty user-friendly and pretty much basic to start using right out of the gate. All right, we will move on, and I will investigate that situation. Okay. What if let's talk about another scenario here. We're going to go to Chromium. We're going to pretend that we have something up, and we don't necessarily need to do all those steps of capturing it and bringing it into the Whiteboard app. I simply just want to circle something for students to write down. Well, I can do that very easily by pulling up this next tool labeled Annotate. So Annotate, if I tap that, it is going to pull this very basic toolbar up with a pen and a highlighter, and I can simply circle it and say, students, go here on your Chromebook or iPads, whatever it is, write this down in your planner, write this on your paper, whatever. Go through a homework sheet really quickly. I can show whatever it is on my teacher laptop and still have access to this Annotate tool. There's no save here. So if you annotate over something and you end up having this really great learning session, just capture it. When you capture it, it's going to capture with the annotations and open it in the whiteboard to dump into your gallery, and then you can delete that later. So that's the Annotate tool. It's very basic. Pen, highlighter, a few colors, an eraser tool. When you X out of that, it pulls your annotations. So leave it up as long as you want your annotations to be there. That's the Annotate tool. Okay. Remember, there's two options to share a device or to mirror a device onto your screen. You can plug it in with those two black cords and click the source button and switch the source. Or you can use this next app labeled Screen Share and wirelessly connect. Before I go on to Screen Share, if you're somebody that's comfortable in plugging your device in and that's how you want to do it, I just want to point out that you need your display settings set to clone or mirror or whatever it's labeled as. We don't want to use an extended display setting when we plug things into the panel. The touch, everything just does not work right. So if you were used to that, I'm sorry, Screen Share might be your thing. Okay, how do we wirelessly connect devices through our app labeled Screen Share? So right now I want you to go back home on your panel, and then I want you to launch the app labeled Screen Share. When you launch that, you're going to see this menu appear. what can we share to the panel? We can share anything that has an internet connection. It can be a teacher MacBook. It can be a teacher or a student iPad. It can be your phone. Anything that has an internet connection. It does not have to be on the same internet connection as your panel, just the same network, just an internet connection. Who cares? The student can be at home and on the Teams call, and they can still share their work with the class as long as they are on an internet connection. You can name your panel whatever you want to name it. Your panel ID number will be a 6-digit code. That panel ID number will be different than the panel ID number in the classroom next to you. This panel ID number will be the same every day unless you hit that orange refresh button. Teachers in K through 6, they like to keep it the same because I memorize that number, students memorize that number, and it makes my life a little bit easier. Teachers that are in 6 through 12, they sometimes refresh it because there's older and wiser students. So maybe there's 2 Johnnies. One Johnny's in your class now, but one Johnny's down the hallway in math, and they might try to share onto your screen. Now, you would let them. You have to allow them, but, if they have the same name, you might accidentally allow that and cause for a disruption in your classroom. So it's your choice if you want to refresh it, however often you want to refresh it, after each class period, after each day, or if you want to leave it the same. Now I want you to find in the bottom left-hand corner the little person. That's going to bring us into this screen. This is your waiting room. So the nice thing about screen share is I could share up to 4 screens at one time, 1 in each corner, 3 at a time, 2 at a time, or 1 at a time. But if 10 students in my class are going to share their project or presentation today, up to 39 could sit in these waiting rooms. So you could say, students, today is a share day. You're going to be sharing one example from your writing project. You need to go ahead and log into screen share. They will log in. I'll talk about how they get in that in a minute. And they will sit in these spots, and you will tell them to have their content ready to go. And literally, they will be ready, and all you will do is click their name, and it will show up on the screen. So you prevent that transition of, okay, Joe, it's your turn. Come up here, plug your device in, get your content up. Nope, they're logged in, and they're ready to go. How do I get on screen share? Well, if you're a phone or a tablet, you go to the App Store or an iPad. You go to the App Store and you download the myPromethean app. It's a free app. It looks like the flame icon that's on the front of your panel. Okay, looks like this when you launch it. Hold on, it's loading. It gives you the option, student, teacher, admin. You would click teacher. It's going to look like this. You're going to type in the 6-digit code and your name. Why would I want my phone? Well, teachers are loving to use their phone in the classroom as a mobile document camera. So they share their phone up on the panel screen. You have to click, if it's an iPhone, you have to click Start Broadcast for whatever reason. And my name's going to show up on my waiting room. I'm going to tap my name, and I'm going to click the orange button in the bottom middle, Share. And now I can share anything on my phone with my students. Maybe I took a neat picture on an event last night that I just want to show really fast. Maybe I want to use my camera and walk around the classroom and use it as a mobile document camera. Show student examples really quickly without having to bring a document camera and plug it in and bring actual work up underneath of it. Anything. I'm going to click the person in the right-hand corner. I'm going to go back to that waiting room. So tablets and phones, you go to the App Store. You download the myPromethean app. It's free. You load it. You select I'm a teacher or whatever, log in, name, share. To exit, as a teacher, I can X my students out here, or on my device, I can click exit waiting room. One more thing about the phones and the tablets. You're going to notice when I'm sharing my phone on my panel screen, I have to control it from my phone. I have no touch up here on the panel screen. So phones and tablets have to control it from the device. So just keep that in mind. Let's go back here. Let's talk about how do we share computers, Macs, Windows, Chromebook, anything like that. This will be in your follow-up, but you need to go to this URL in the bottom corner of your waiting room labeled share.mypromethean.com. You go there. Here's my little spiel about that. I think you as teachers have Macs, right?
Yes, most of our teachers have Macs and most of our students have Macs.
Okay, if you have a Mac, when you go to that URL, share.mypromethean.com, you need to select the Mac version. Don't just select the Chrome extension. Do the full Mac version because it gives you all of the features. Same with any other device. Unless you're a Chromebook, don't do the Chrome extension. Just do either the Windows or the Mac version. And then it's going to sit, I'm going to show you on my computer here. It's going to sit on the desktop of your computer, just like anything else would that you download. And you're going to launch it. It will be a little screen share icon. You'll launch it, and it will look like this. Hold on just a second. It'll look like this, just a white window. You can't even really see. Same thing. It's going to ask the panel ID number and the name. But now that you have that full version downloaded, on the computers, it will ask you if you want to enable touchback. You want to check that box. And then you want to click enter the waiting room. And now you're going to see my name pop up on my waiting room with a green bubble next to it. The green bubble signals that touchback is enabled. So now I can click my name, and I can click share, and it's weird because I'm on the call. Let me get that here. Hold on just a second. Now I can control my computer. Up here I have touch. So whatever it is I want to go to on my computer, I have access to do that with the touch capability. Or I could walk around my classroom with my laptop and control my PowerPoint and call students up here to touch, but I'm still able to have the functionality to move around my room. So that's why I like the touchback. Let me go off of that. Okay, so that is with your computer. With the phones and the tablets, you have to control it from the device. With the computer, you can pick. I like the touchback because I can still move around the room with my device and call students up to interact. I can share up to 4 at a time, so I could select up to 4 people. If you had a group project or something, 1 in each corner, 3, 2, or 1, and I can have up to 39 people sit in this waiting room. What questions do we have on screen share? Was anybody able to try it and see if it's working with your guys' network?
Jessica, we used it the other day in a meeting on one of the older boards, and it mostly worked okay.
Okay. The only thing I do have to say, I like it a lot, and typically when I go on site to see people, I never bring a cord with me anymore, I just screen share. But I do hear and I do notice that if you have a longer video that you're trying to share with students or staff, it sometimes lags on a longer video. So if you're planning on sharing something longer on the end of a video, I would either share it directly from the panel or plug in your device.
All of our boards also have Apple TVs connected to them, so that's always an option as well.
Okay, great. I think I forgot that, or I don't know, skipped it. So yes, you can always access everything for your Apple TV too. Great to know. Is this a website or an app for the computers? Computers, you go to, Becca, you go to a website to download it, and then it is like an app. So for the computers, you're going to, I'm going to put this on the chat, you're going to go to share.my, and this is a one-time thing that you have to sit students down to do, or you can do it for them. Your tech department may be able to push this out, but I'm not sure. You go to the website, you download the version that you need, and then it's always there every day. It's on the desktop like an app. So it's kind of a... Any other questions on the screen share?
Just for all the staff here, I will attempt to get it on all of our one-to-one devices before I distribute them next week.
Great. Okay, I'm going to go back over to my laptop for a second and share with you some more stuff. Is there any other questions before I do that? Just on the panel. That's basically everything we were going to cover directly on the panel. I want to talk to you about some of our software and then a couple other things before we finish up today. But if there's anything directly that you'd like me to show you on the panel, I can show that. Or you're going to see me go back over here to the PowerPoint. Okay, myself a little check here. And remember, that unified menu that we talked through today, whether you're sharing your teacher computer, you're on that Apple TV, you have access to it. So all those tools that we talked about, you're going to be able to use that over whatever source you're talking about. I also, in my follow-up, you're going to see these next few slides, I literally have a how-to on everything for you to see after today, because you're not going to be able to remember everything we talk about today, so just keep that in mind. That's all there for you after today. Do not expect yourself to be able to do everything after today. Okay, we talked about screen share. Awesome. I also lay out how to download screen share on every device. We talked about how we have to use those two cords if we're going to plug in anything, and we have to change the source. So if you're going over to your Apple TV, you have to change the source. The source is in the unified menu, labeled source, and then you tap on the other bubble to make it switch. We talked about changing our wallpaper. That's a popular question I always get in your display settings of your panel. Some people hate the keyboard sound on your panel. I'm not going to go through it right now. It'll be in your follow-up. If that really drives you nuts, that's how you get it off. Now let's talk about software. So today we spent most all of our time talking about what you could do on the panel specifically and how you can use your Mac or your other devices to bring in content to the panel. But Promethean also offers two other things. They offer the ActivInspire software, and they also offer a cloud-based Classflow lesson delivery platform. Sounds like you're getting a new LMS this year, so I would probably just focus on that. But have any of you used the ActivInspire software before? Okay, well, ActivInspire is a software. It would be downloaded onto your Mac, and it is going to be like something that you would create content ahead of time. We call that content flip charts. It's going to look and feel like a fancier version of like PowerPoint. if that's something that you guys are interested in, we can talk about it. Hold on, let me get out of this. And I can get into ActivInspire and show that to you in just a second. It looks like, and I can send you the link to download onto the computers. It's older, but it's still certainly something that you can use. Let me reshare. Hold on. Okay, so here's what it looks like when you launch it. So you're going to see that you're going to have these like PowerPoint slides down the side that you can make. And then, man, for some reason the dashboard's not showing up on the screen. You can make activities and presentations and things like that directly on this software. We do a whole nother training on it, but if you're interested in it, you can let me know. So that is the software for Promethean also offers. If you're new to Promethean and in general your panel, I would recommend that you just start at using your panel and using that Whiteboard app. But for those experienced users, we still have ActivInspire and you can still use that. Let me go back over here. And go back to my PowerPoint. And if you're somebody that is using a lot of worksheets and you would rather import them into the software, you can do that. And then you're going to see me share, or here, just I'm not going to share it all the way, all the guides for the virtual learning. So you'll have a whole guide on Teams there that you can access if you have any further questions and how my setup is and how your setup might be in your classroom. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, we talked about the Learn Promethean site, but I wanted to share with you the resource library. Okay. Chrome. The resource library is another online resource that, you can't see it, can you? Weird. Still stuck on my PowerPoint. Let me end it and then share it. There we go. The resource library is web-based, and I'll send you a link to this. And you can create a Promethean resource library if you Google it. You can create an account and sign in, and then you can download. It's like Teachers Pay Teachers or Pinterest for Promethean. So right now there's like 51,000 resources loaded on here. There are flip charts that you can download and edit directly into that software, but there's also whiteboard documents that you could download. You can either be on the panel and open them directly on the panel from the resource library. You can throw them in your OneDrive and then access them. So the whiteboard files are like preloaded things that you could do on the whiteboard. For instance, story problems that are created with space there for you to use. There's all kinds of things. There's 5 pages right now of, there's 360 right now whiteboard files on there. There's a lot more flip charts for the software, but this is great if you're feeling very overwhelmed and you don't know where to start on how you might want to create content. So this is the resource library. It's free for you to use, and this is something that you could search on at home. All web-based. You create an account and you save your resources directly into your account, and it creates little like my collections here. I'm not signed in right now. It'll create all of your collections that you save there. So that is another great resource that Promethean offers for you guys. Were there any questions on that? Sorry, I keep toggling in between all this. Other than that, I feel like we're done a little bit early, but we covered most everything. Empower Learning is on Facebook. You can follow us there. We are going to start doing a monthly newsletter too that will actually email out to you guys, and there'll be a little video from myself and a little tip and trick. There'll also be some more localized type of stuff on Empower Learning versus Promethean, but you can also find Promethean on YouTube. So if you have any questions, I can answer them now. You can get my follow-up information and contact me, or I can set up another call with you if you have any further questions. I know we're done a little bit early, but you guys just do not have a lot of questions today. So feel free to play around on your panel, and I can stay on for a little while longer and answer any questions or feedback that you might have. But the main objective for today was just to get you started on just your panel itself and get you going. Have you guys started school already?
We have not. Our first day is Thursday.
Thursday, okay. Awesome. So yes, just take a couple things from today and start using those on the first day, and then don't expect yourself to be able to do all of this. But I will stick around if you have questions or if you want to practice while I'm on the line. Feel free to. Thank you for spending a little bit of your time today with me, and good luck with your school year.
Thanks, Jessica. We appreciate it.
You are so welcome. And look for some follow-up information via email.